welcome to another episode here of our live Smile Story. Today we are joined by Tania Bauer. And before we jump in, I just want to remind everyone that if you've not caught our previous episodes of the Smile Stories, where we pull back the blurple curtain, give you a peek behind to the people that truly make up SmileDirectClub and make SmileDirectClub wonderful, you can go to the internet. And on the culture page, you can watch any of the episodes that we have previously filmed. Also, if you haven't already, pull out your phone. If you haven't followed us, go to Instagram, SmileDirectClub Careers, and press follow. That is where we post content like this, videos, stories, spotlights, and different happenings around the globe at SmileDirectClub through our culture. So without further ado, I want to give a warm welcome and introduce you to Tania Bauer. Tania, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, Tania Bauer. I'm Regional Sales Manager of the Southwest. I have been with SmileDirectClub for 5.5 years. My 6-year anniversary is in April.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So, Tania, let's start, and like we always do, let's go back in time, if you can, and give advice to your 10-year-old self.
That's a good question. I mean, when I was 10 years old, I actually would tell myself, like, believe in yourself a little bit more, have more confidence. I was always a little nervous about playing sports. And I think just I had really low, confidence in myself. I mean, I had a gap. I was really short. And I think I just really didn't give myself credit for like how strong of a person I really was. So I would tell myself to just have more confidence and believe in yourself.
All right. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so let's go back to beyond when you were 10 years old, or as far back as you want to go, and tell us your story, like what makes Tania, your background.
Yeah, so I'm married. I've been married for 15 years.
All right.
We just had our 15-year wedding anniversary. I have 2 kids, Jameson and Tegan. Jameson's 17 years old in high school, senior this year. And my daughter is a freshman, 14. I can't even believe it. I grew up in a huge family. I grew up in a family of 8 kids.
Oh.
Yes, I was the oldest of 8. My parents were foster parents. So, and actually, so were my grandparents. So I grew up in just in the foster care system pretty much all through my elementary and high school life. Actually, to this day, I mean, my parents actually ended up taking guardianship of 2 of my brothers and have adopted 2 kids since my childhood too. So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So, all right. Growing up in a foster family, that's not, say, typical, right? So what was day-to-day life like, or what was that like?
Crazy, chaotic. We had, so it was like 50-50. We had 4 girls, 4 boys. Sometimes we had 3 girls, 3 boys. Like, we all shared rooms. My mom, man, her structure and discipline and organization was like, you had to be with so many kids. I mean, just the groceries is so expensive. I can't even imagine like what I spend now on groceries, like how she was able to budget for 8 kids. Sitting at the dinner table, like we ate a lot of spaghetti, a lot of big pots of stuff. And, she'd serve everybody. We weren't allowed to just go into the kitchen cabinet and go grab a snack. Like,
wow.
If we'd come home, my mom would have come home from school, the snacks laying on the table. Like, we just couldn't go in and out. There was no way the kids would eat us out of house and home.
Right.
I think, we didn't travel a lot. We couldn't. It was so expensive with 8 kids. We never hardly ever would go out to dinner just because it was so expensive and there were so many of us.
And where did you grow up?
So I actually grew up in California,
okay.
Born and raised in California. My elementary school days, I actually lived in Rialto, California.
Okay.
And then I moved up to Big Bear in middle school. So
for people who don't know, what is Big Bear?
So Big Bear is a super small resort town.
Okay.
They really thrive off of like the lake and the ski resorts.
All right. And so now where do you fall in the 8?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm the oldest, and I definitely made sure everyone knew I was.
So all right. So that's what I want to just dig in a little bit more. So like you're the oldest, so you technically got there first. And so like
Yeah.
foster kids and other siblings showing up, like what was that dynamic like as time went on?
Yeah. So actually it was just my sister and I who were biological sisters. And then all the other kids were foster children. And it was about third grade when we had our first group of foster kids. And we started off with 3 boys. And then it just turned into a huge household. My parents, so they're long-term foster care. So when the kids came, they stayed for a really long time. School, it's actually crazy. I was just thinking about this the other day. Like, I didn't ever tell anybody that my parents were foster parents growing up. Like when I was in high school, like no one knew. They thought my brother John was my brother. My brother Andy, they thought was my brother. They actually looked just like my dad. So it was, nobody really knew until I think after we graduated high school that he wasn't really my biological brother.
Oh,
I am crazy. Cool. Yeah, it was when he had kids when he decided to change his last name to our last name. And my parents actually did take guardianship of Jonathan and Andy.
Okay. And so you're naming these 2 brothers. I'm sure everyone got along swimmingly all the time.
No, man, the fights, it was crazy. Looking back at my mom controlling 8 kids, like I feel like we were always fighting and bickering and she touched me, she took this, or he's looking at me crazy. But when we would sit down and watch TV, actually, we had assigned seats. We all had a spot. Oh, wow. Yeah. When I said my mom had things organized, we had assigned seats where we sat for when we had TV time at the end of the day.
So and
my mom was very strict. Like when we went to friends' houses after school, we went to go play in the neighborhood. Like we had to be back for dinner. We all sat at the
there's a waxing crescent money spell. It's no secret that witches love the moon and knowing how to harness the power of each moon.
She had it planned out on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tanya, you're washing the dishes. Tuesday, Thursday, you're drying. We all played a part on keeping the household looking good and running smoothly.
Okay. So, I mean, yes, you say it's chaos, but obviously your mom, very organized, orderly person, seemed like it was still best it could be with 8 kids. So I just tell it all right, what would be a story that would encapsulate, I get it, the chores, assigned seats. You're saying you can't go out to dinner, makes a lot of sense. But what's a story that would show a typical day in the life or time in the family?
Okay, I have 2 stories. Okay. So the first story is we always had to write sentences. We had to write sentences and we had to stand in the corner.
Okay.
And whenever we were in trouble, and okay, a lot of times my mom would just say, okay, I want you to write one sentence on what you did wrong and what you were going to do better next time, or, just one sentence. And I would argue, and I'm not going to write, I shouldn't have to, it was, his fault. I shouldn't have had to do this. It was Deanna's fault. Deanna's my sister. And then she's added on 10, then 20, then 30. All of a sudden I'm at 100 sentences. And that was our punishment that we had to write sentences. But I do remember in my elementary school days, when we got in trouble, we'd all have to stand in the hallway. We had this long hallway and we'd all be nose at the wall. And because we weren't allowed to touch the wall, because, at one point there was all these forehead marks all the way across. My mom would have us we had to stand with our hands out and we'd be on one foot and she'd be like, switch. And it was so funny. We would, I mean, now I'm laughing about it, but then we were like, oh, this sucks. I can't believe we had to do this. But I mean, so there's this story when I was a kid where, my mom did this investigation on who stole the cookies from the cookie jar. And we all knew who did it, but she went through this full investigation to basically show all of us that she's going to come to the bottom of this. She's going to figure out. So she laid out all this construction paper for everybody. She put white out on all of our fingers and took our fingerprints. And then she had Scotch tape where she lifted the fingerprints from the cookie jar and came up with who actually stole the cookies from the cookie jar. And it actually ended up being my brother, Jason, who we already knew. Yes. Okay. Yeah. And, one thing is he would get up in the middle of the night and steal food. My mom, I mean, we ate good. We had breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and we had snacks. There was always food. But, foster kids, I mean, a lot of them had mental health issues. Like he had an eating disorder, and, coming from, not knowing before he lived with us, like if he was going to have his next meal, like, he would get from the middle of the night and just eat handfuls of cereal. Oh, wow. And so, I mean, it was really sad. Like she tried to make it like fun for us, but like he was really going through some stuff. Yeah. Like it's pretty crazy.
So that's interesting. So how did some of, just the issues that you would think happen being foster children like that your brother having an eating disorder, how did that affect you or affect your upbringing, or how did you deal with that kind of stuff? Because you're a teenager or a young kid and a teenager too.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it impacts all of us, just because my mom really did have to be structured with our eating, with our food, and just like day to day. Like one of my brothers, he would have the biggest fits, and he would just scream and yell, and he just really deep down probably had some issues that he needed to get out and needed to talk it out. But instead of sharing, really how he felt when he would get in trouble, he would just scream and yell. And like we're all just sitting there like, just stop it. Like, it's okay. Like, just don't throw the baseball at the window again. Like this is why you're in trouble. So, I mean, I mean, my mom definitely, like, the way that she was able to control all of us and stay calm and, being in foster care, like, we had to get punished when we did things, that we weren't supposed to do. So that was like, okay, you're going to stand in the corner. You got to write sentences. Like she really was trying to, teach us a lesson and learn from our mistakes. But I honestly don't know how she did it day to day.
Yeah. I mean,
like I was a problem. Like I was a brat. I know I was like, and I have a daughter who's just like me. Oh. I laugh. Like actually one year for Mother's Day, I bought my mom this sign and it said, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, I'm my mother after all." and I look back, and my daughter is me after all. Like it's going to be her later on. Saying like, man, I used to always tell my mom, like, I don't want to be like you. You're yelling at us, we're in trouble. And then I am so her now. But no, I definitely think that she had a tough job.
Sounds like she did a pretty great job.
Even when it comes to like Christmas, like shopping, like how do you afford to buy gifts for 8 kids? Yeah. Like she would start Christmas shopping in April and layaway because we didn't have a lot of money. Like we really were a poor family. I remember being embarrassed in the car we drove in. Like we drove in a station wagon, and that was one of the fights we would get in when I was a kid too, where we fought about shotgun. Everybody wanted the back seat because we had the white station wagon with the wood grain doors. Yep. The back seat was facing everybody on the back side. Like when you're driving down the road, you're facing the people behind you. So we're like waving at them and being goofy back there. Nobody wanted to sit up front. That was the seat, but we'd all fight. And my mom would be like, okay, it's Jonathan's turn and Andy's turn and Jason's turn, Alvin's turn. Like we all had to take turns on who was going to sit in the back seat. Man.
So, all right. You said you didn't play sports growing up, like in your earlier question, but you did play some sports, right?
Did.
I heard about a baseball.
Team. So my very first sport I ever played was baseball. I really think I only made the team because my dad was the coach and my mom was the team mom, and all my siblings were everybody else on the team. So I really wasn't good at all. I think at the time I was more worried about my hair getting smushed underneath my hat, and
you guys made up.
We were the team. Yeah. I think the other little players on the team were like, one was one of my best friends and one was like one of my brother's friends, but we were pretty much the team.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Do you remember the name of the team?
Yeah, we were called the Pirates.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Appropriate.
Yeah.
All right. So like, speaking of your mom, and I don't know if it is, but like, can you tell us like who your great influencers are in your life or influences in your life that kind of make you?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think, both my parents, I have to give them both praise for just everything. My dad was an entrepreneur. He owned his own business. He was Dan, the copy repairman. I'll never forget that. But he worked hard. My mom was an at-home mom taking care of the craziness of the 8 kids and dealing with, all the things that, getting us our, packed for school and getting our homework done and running dinner and keeping the household and dealing with the outbreaks that would happen. And the runaways, like, I still can't even believe like all the things that she went through. So I definitely think both my parents and a lot of, I was an entrepreneur one point in my life too. And I think I get a lot of that from my dad and his drive to run he's always owned his own business since the day I was born, pretty much. And then also grandma.
Okay.
Yeah, man, she's 89 years old.
Okay.
And I talk to her weekly. I try to talk to her more, but she'll keep me on the phone for way too long. But I love talking to her because she always tells me stories growing up. But she tells me every day that she works every day. Like she says she works every day. She really doesn't. But my whole life, they built a home on 3 acres. It's called Rock Acres. And her job was to wake up in the morning and she'd pick a portion of her yard and hand mow the lawn.
Wow.
Like literally up to like last year. They just sold it at the beginning of the year. Like this year just sold the house. Yeah. Hand mowing her lawn. So funny. We were out there last year visiting and she wanted to have a competition with my son who's 17 on who could mow their section faster. Like she's pretty competitive, but I think it, keeps her young and moving. But yeah, she had horses. She was riding horses up to a few years ago. She used to have quinceañeras and parties and she was like security at her parties. Tough lady. But I mean, she really taught me just through her stories of her life and growing up, like you want something, you work hard for it. And I mean, she was just a survivor. She was, just thriving. And I think even my mom, same thing. Like my parents actually divorced when I was in college. I think I was already 2 years in. And when they had their divorce, she had to go back to work. Like she never worked when I was growing up. I feel like she had a full-time job taking care of us, but she didn't have a 9 to 5. So she went back to work. She actually went back to school. She got her bachelor's degree. And to this day, like she's actually a social worker, and to see her work as hard as she does, I mean, she lives a great life, but I mean, they really have taught me, like, you want nice things, you work for it, you appreciate the things you have, and just the true value of money. And I think too, like they taught me like how important family is. Like having, and I've tried to enforce that with my family now. It's really hard because my kids do play sports. They don't get any of that from me. But I liked family dinners. Like I cook dinner every night. Now I have the opportunity to, and I think it's important to have that and holidays at home and spending that family time.
So some of those great traits that you're describing, you obviously took with you. What was next in your life? You graduated college, or or give me a moment that like kind of defined you into adulthood.
Yeah, I mean, I always worked the retail life, so that was me. I always thought I'd just be like a career woman. I really kids were at the top of my list. I knew at one point I would have a family, but it was, I didn't know when it would happen. But actually, I ended up pregnant with my son, Jameson. Okay. And boy, did I grow up real quick, really, really quick. And at this point, like my sister already had her son, and I was like a good auntie. And but yeah, the moment I had my son, it was like life changed so much for me. I mean, I never babysat really either. Okay. Like I wasn't big on that. And I remember
you're one of 8. I mean,
yeah.
You babysit, right?
No, I mean, I have to take care of them, but it was like, oh, they'd be okay. I mean, my parents were always home. They never really went anywhere. But yeah, I remember the day I took my son home from the hospital, my mom called me and she's like, do you know how to change a diaper? I was like, yeah, they taught me in the hospital before they came. Yeah. But yeah, I think I've surprised my family and, actually how good of a parent I've become. Yeah.
Sorry. So your son was born, I don't know, you young, were you working? Where were you?
Yeah. So at the time, actually, I was living in San Francisco, and I worked for Benefit Cosmetics. Okay. And that was like super random that I even lived in San Francisco because I always lived in Southern California. And at the time, me and one of my girlfriends were like, let's just move out and go somewhere we've never been. And it was supposed to be super, random that we were going there. And but I am a planner naturally. And so I worked at a boutique in San Diego, and I reached out to a couple owners of the clothing lines that we sold. And it was like, do you have any, I was trying to network through them for a job. And I had a customer that worked for Benefit. She was a regional manager for Benefit, and she ended up got me an interview. But yeah, I was just living that retail life.
Okay. And then your son's born, and did you stay in San Fran?
I had to move back home. There was no way I could, living in the city at the time. My boyfriend, Jason, who's now my husband, we actually grew up together. I've known him since I was 12.
Oh, all right.
Yes, we dated throughout the years.
He didn't know you were one of foster kids?
No, he knew.
Okay.
Yeah, he knew. He knew, but it wasn't something I just shared. Especially through high school, because when I moved to Big Bear in 8th grade, at that time we had I think 4 foster kids when I went to middle school and high school.
Got it.
And so plus the 2 of us, so there's 6 kids, but it wasn't as crazy when I was younger. But my husband, I knew him in 8th grade. We dated in high school. We dated a little bit in college, and then reunited years later, and decided to move back to our hometown. And I opened up my own business. I actually opened a clothing store called Paisley Boutique. It was awesome because I was able to take my son there with me, and my daughter, actually, she was practically born at the shop. I had her on a Friday and was back to work on Tuesday. She was one of my biggest sales reps for me because she was decked out in Paisley. She had bows and socks and cute little onesies for me. So she sold it all.
That's great.
Yeah.
And so you own that business. I mean, let's put it this way. So you took, like you said, entrepreneurship from your dad, grit from your grandma, value of $1 from your mom, and organization.
Yeah.
Did those things go into your leadership style or how you ran your business?
Oh, definitely. I mean, my dad, owning his own business my whole life, he worked hard. He worked every day. And when I opened up my shop, that was one thing too. I was my hardest boss. I worked every day. I didn't take the time off. The good thing about my clothing store was we closed early. We closed at 6. So I still was able to be home in the evenings. I was able to take my kids to work with me, and friends would pick them up here and there. But when it came to running my business day to day, it was my heart, my soul. Was paying my bills. It was putting food on my table. So I really took, everything I learned from my family. I took it serious. I take things really personal too. Being in a small town, we had a lot of events coming up in Big Bear. So they would do a car show, the chili cook-off. We had farmers market, just a lot of different events in my shop was in the village. And I remember at one point just getting really frustrated because, there were days where people weren't walking in the door. I was like, how am I going to, nobody walked in all day today. How am I going to pay my bills? If my business really depended on the weather, honestly, some days, if it was snowing, nobody's walking in. If we didn't get a good winter and there was not snow, it wasn't bringing the tourists up to Big Bear. So I was part of the Small Business Association and the Chamber of Commerce. And I remember at one of our meetings, all fired up, it's not fair that they bring these outside vendors that are selling the same product that we are in our village. We're open 365 days of the year, no matter what it is. And they're coming up here on these peak days that we have, taking our business. So,
you said this in front of the chamber?
Yeah, it was actually the Small Business Association. And so they were we need to take it to the city. We're going to take it to the city. And so we actually had a big meeting at the city. And I was all pumped, I was going to say something, and I was chickening out. There's no way I'm going to talk to all these people. I'm the youngest business owner. At the time, I was 27 years old. And boy, did I just age myself right now. But yeah, I was 27, and I was there's no way I'm going to be able to talk in front of the city, the governor. There was all these people there, all these business owners. And one of the other business owners that was next to me, she basically was pushing me out of my seat and then volunteered me and yelled Tanya has something to say. And I actually got up there and ended up saying, exactly we work hard for our business and you're taking away from our business. I think that we should all have a free space at all these events and they shouldn't sell things that compete with our businesses. So it actually happened, which was crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah, they ended up having every business fill out a form of like what they sold. So products or just really what products they sold. Some were brands too. And any event that was in the village, we got a free space. So that was pretty cool. And nobody could really compete with us.
So you were a disruptor way back when?
Yes.
Like definitely in your nature.
Yes. I mean, not when I was little, but as I got older, I started to get a voice.
That's awesome. So, all right. So how long did you, own this business? And then how did you find SmileDirectClub, or how did that come into your career?
Yeah. So I had my clothing store for 5 years. When it was good, it was good. When it was tough, it was tough. So at one point I ended up getting another job. And then I found my way through just networking, actually through one of my customers. I ended up moving to San Diego and moving my whole family down there, selling my business. And I worked for Sunglass Hut.
Okay. And
I was with them for a few years. And then I actually took on a pilot position and ended up transferring my family to Arizona, from California to Arizona. And after a couple of years working with Sunglass Hut, I think it was a great company. I actually loved the company. I didn't really see the growth, and I got recruited by Victoria's Secret and ended up leaving and was at Victoria's Secret for 3 years and working that retail life. Man, there was no holidays, no weekends. I worked nights. I'd get home at midnight sometimes. I would go days without seeing my husband because he worked at 4, like he would leave at like 4:30 in the morning, and I would get up. So I would get home so late. He was getting up before I was waking up in the morning. It was crazy balancing the kids. My mother-in-law had to end up moving in with me, but to help us with the kids because I was so focused on work. And Michelle, who was our VP at one point, I knew her from Sunglass Hut, and she reached out to me and she said, I have this great opportunity. I really want you to check out SmileDirectClub. And at the time, I was making really good money at Victoria's Secret, and I don't know. I was like stuck in this groove. Like it took me 6 months to finally come in for an interview. And one day she called me. She's like, you just need to talk to my people. Just talk to my people, interview. And then that first interview, I was like, why did I wait 6 months for this? Like it was everything I wanted to hear. It was like you're a 9-to-5 schedule. You're closed on holidays. You're closed on Sundays. Like I wanted work-life balance, and that's exactly what I wanted and was asking for. And I pushed it back for 6 years.
So, all right. So, I mean, because I'm not on the retail side, but SmileDirectClub and how they run, or we run SmileShops and Partner Network, you're saying that's completely different from the retail world that you came from.
I mean, most retailers, you're working in a mall, and the mall doesn't close till 10 o'clock at night. So, and if you had to do floor sets or straightening, like you could start as early as 7 a.m, and there was, shifts that I wouldn't leave till midnight. So yeah, really long days. And you worked every holiday. Right. You worked, and depending on the mall, I mean, the malls I worked at, we were open on Christmas. We were open on Thanksgiving, Black Friday. So, it was nuts. And coming to SmileDirectClub and really having that 9-to-5 job, like it was awesome. I had a life. I was able to actually have a schedule. I could participate in picking up the kids from soccer, cooking the kids dinner, making dinner, which I surprised everybody. It's like, they're like, Tanya, cook? I'm not a very good cook. Which my husband always laughs about because my mom is an amazing cook. He's like, that's one trait I did not pick up from my mom. I'm working on it. And now every time I ruin dinner, which happens at least once a week, I blame it on Pinterest. I follow the directions. Yeah,
it didn't come out like the picture. Right?
Yeah.
I just want to break in and say, throw questions you might have in the Q&A or in the chat, and Alex Price will ask them later. I didn't say that at the beginning, but if you have questions for Tanya, you can even put them in now, and we'll try to save time at the end for those questions. And one more I wanted to ask you. All right, so you get to SDC, and I know, congratulations on a recent promotion to Regional Sales Manager. But you've had a pretty good journey here. Best through balance, or work-life balance, has definitely been a key. What else has led to your success here?
Yeah, I mean, I originally started with SmileDirectClub. I was a shop manager. So I was a shop manager for 3 years. And it was great too, because it was close to home. And then I was promoted to an area manager for the regional events team. And then after the regional events, I came back to the SmileShops as an area manager, and then ended up being promoted to a district manager, and then now a regional sales manager.
Wow.
So I definitely think, my career path was, I had, great leaders leading me, very inspiring. I mean, I've had quite a few different district managers, and every district manager was so different. I've learned a little bit from everyone, and just, that leadership mindset. But no, I think I had a really good support. And also, I mean, not to throw out like props to Project Elevate and our training courses. We have a lot of courses that I've taken online on Grinternet that have helped me with coaching and feedback. And it's been, I think that was awesome. I went through, totally. I mean, I love our training and development team. And I also think too, I went through a great program with SmileDirectClub. It was called the Center of Excellence Manager program. That was a great stepping stone for me to get into just building a relationship with different leaders across the brand. Sure. Because that was like a mentor program where you would onboard a new manager and you would mentor them throughout their journey getting started with SmileDirectClub. But then you're also networking with other managers across the brand. So I also think that's really important, is really, getting your name out there and meeting your peers and being able to work with them and inspire them too.
And I would also say, like you said this earlier, that you started to find your voice when you were coming up and getting older and experience. You definitely have found your voice at SmileDirectClub, contributing ideas matter. Tell us a story if you have it around that.
Yeah. So I do have to say, one of my very first district managers was Patty Coley. And I, being a manager, didn't really participate a lot on calls. And one day she told me, like, because we would have our touch bases, she shared with me, she's like, you really need to talk more on the calls. You really need to share what you're doing, because you're doing great things. And so I think that was like my first, like, okay, I have courage to talk on these calls and really share, because when you're a new manager to a company, I felt like I was still learning things, but she's like, you have a lot to bring. You really need to share. So I think that was my first stepping stone into sharing. I also think with SmileDirectClub, we have My Ideas Matter, which is a great platform to email in your ideas. And I've sent in lots of ideas where I've gotten some friendly emails back, like, thanks for your idea, Tanya. It's not going to work. No, but I've had some great ideas, and they've said, like, they've already thought of something like that, or they already had a pilot coming soon, or, it was already in the works. But we have Video Review Call, which is a huge platform. Great way for exposure for managers to really, share their leadership skills. And actually, a few months ago, I was on Video Review Call. So our partner network side of SmileDirectClub launched the Dual Journey. And the Dual Journey is basically where we have our Care and we have Care Plus. Okay. So both options that we can offer our customers. And the Dual Journey started off just with a few of our sales specialists in dental offices. And so for a few weeks, we were watching, I think I said this probably a couple of months, we were watching videos with our I think there was 3 sales specialists that we were watching, and just really showing how they were launching the Care Plus and the partner network shops. And I just thought it was great. The whole Care Plus option, I think we have so many customers day to day, and the SmileShops are asking for this already. I had my Chandler SmileShop was in a dental office for 2 years, basically. So, I mean, I had customers all the time who really wanted to see the doctor, or just wanted to have that one-on-one communication with somebody. And so on a call one day, nobody really talked on this call. Like, the DMs really didn't talk. And it was, like Jessica and Steve and DK would share feedback, and Carrie and Patty of just like, how are we going to evolve and make this bigger and better? And so one day I just wanted to compliment the Smile Guide. She was actually one of the Smile Guides from the regional events. So I was like, man, she's doing so great. And so Patty was like, you should mention this on the call. And my heart was pounding. So I was like, oh man, but nobody else really talks. And so I I gave some feedback, but then I felt like I had the moment to share this idea I had. And I just said it out loud. I was like, I think, Care Plus is an awesome product. We really what if we launched it to all shops, or could we launch it to all shops? We have customers asking for this every day. Right. And it got really quiet after that. And my heart was pounding, oh no, did I say something I shouldn't have said? And then all of a sudden David Katzman was like, I'm surprised you're saying that. And then it was pause for a minute.
Why do you think why was he surprised you were saying that?
Oh, I mean, maybe because the whole point of Care Plus was to have that connection with that, in-person visits with a doctor. And so we were really going after our shops that were in dental offices. And then all of a sudden it was it's a great idea. So, and we've now launched it across all of our SmileShops. So yeah, it's been really fun just getting it launched and seeing it grow and actually become successful. Yeah.
You just had to have the courage, like all of us do, to have your voice speak up in the moment.
Yeah. I mean, I probably wouldn't have done it before. I don't know at that moment. I just had the moment to share it. But I think, working at SmileDirectClub and really having my peers and my leaders, they've helped me become who I am today. Really, Tanya, share it, say it out loud. Because I'm very good at one-on-one, sending somebody a message and saying this is a great idea. And they're like, why did you say it on the call? That's a great idea. And so finally I was like, okay, I got to get this courage and just participate a little bit more.
Yeah. You've given examples of several different companies you've worked for. Is that something you've experienced in other places, that kind of opportunity to share ideas like that, or different companies work different ways?
Oh, no. I mean, I've never worked for a company before where you actually are on a call with the CEO of the company. There's no way. I mean, would be surprised if here and there I'd get the regional manager would be popping into shops for a shop visit, and they're usually just telling you all the things you're doing wrong. Our video review and a lot of the calls that we have, we have our Grinner Circle call, and we have our VP on the call, and they're really celebrating all the things that we do well and great. And I've never experienced that anywhere else. So
yeah, pretty unique. All right, so a couple last questions before we go to Q&A. Tell us your favorite truth. It may be behind us, may not, and why.
I have a couple. I think my favorite truth is inspired by why. I think, when I think of my role at SmileDirectClub, I was a shop manager for 3 years, and being able to take those appointments with our customers and really make that personal connection with them and relate to them. I mean, I had customers who would come in and the stories that they shared were heartbreaking. They were scared to go to the dentist, or they just never thought they could afford it, or I've literally had customers cry in my chair. I had customers give me a hug when they walked out the door, just to have that feeling, knowing that you are changing somebody's life. And I really day to day, that was very inspiring. Even now as a regional sales manager, I love to go and shop, and I'll still take appointments and engage with the customers, and I'll even be the greeter. I just really love being a part of their smile journey.
That's awesome.
And then I think my second one is stay curious. Becoming a regional sales manager, I love to dig into our reports. I love to dig into our marketing. And I think, having the opportunity to be able to share the ideas I've had, I think is good to really stay curious and share, because you never know, where it's going to take you or what can happen with it.
Yeah, you're definitely proof positive of that. With, your Care Plus. Get it out to the shops.
Yeah.
All right. Last question before Q&A here. We went back to when you were young, 10 years old. Now, 10 years in the future, what advice would you give yourself?
I mean, I definitely say don't forget your why. What's your purpose? Shout out to Miss Roxanne Fox. She said this. She actually has been a big part of my growth with SmileDirectClub too. She was my one of my district managers. And when I was getting interviewing for the area manager position, she was like, what's your legacy, Tanya? What are you gonna, you need to have a legacy. You need to lead with a legacy. So what is your legacy going to be? And so I think, I think in 20 years, I want to be able to know that like I made an impact. I was able to inspire others and really leave a legacy behind to the team behind me as I grow.
That's fantastic. That's a perfect way to end. It's like you are leaving a legacy, I feel like. So thank you. Thank you, Tanya, for sharing and just the courage to tell us your story. Appreciate it. If we have a little bit of time now, time check. I don't know if we have any questions that have come in, but we can go ahead and if you have any. No, we don't. All right. Not yet. All right. Throw a question in. We're wrapping up now. If you want to ask Tanya anything about her story, her background, her leadership style, or how she leads others, how she's become successful at SmileDirectClub, that's great. I'll start, and I'm just going to ask that question. Like, what advice do you have to someone starting their career here at SmileDirectClub or young in their career at all? Like, this is their second job out of school. What advice do you have to follow a path to success and growth?
I mean, I definitely think you have to own, like, when I was a shop manager, it was my business. I ran it like it was my own business, and you really have to own your growth and your development too, and find your peers that you can lean on for support. I also think, like, don't be afraid to ask for feedback. That's one thing as I have grown with the company is I've asked for feedback, or, I mean, I've had leaders reach out to me and tell me, like, can I give you some feedback? And I always took it as development. And I took that feedback as, okay, this is going to help me move forward. But I also think, the exposure of being on video review call and really sharing what's working for you in your SmileShops. And I think building relationships with your fellow shop managers, peers, leaders, no matter what role you're in, is really, building a relationship with them and step into the comfort zone. Yeah, for sure. I think the feedback one, being accepting of that is and taking it as development instead of like, oh, you're saying something. I definitely have one thing that even for me, I still get super nervous about is video review call. I don't know what it is, but my heart starts pounding and I forget my name and I look like white as a ghost. And there's, times I have to talk on the call or host the call. And I reach out to like Sarah and Mike, like, you guys are so awesome at this. Like, what do you do? I reach out to Karina and Tara, who are great, speakers. I'm like, please give me some tips and tricks and feedback. They've all helped me with that. I'm overcoming that fear. You do. I mean, you're doing this live. You're definitely overcoming any fear. It's all the feedback. I'm taking it all. Good. Good. All right, great. Do we have? Go ahead.
So we have a question from Matthew Oppenheim. So what is your favorite SDC memory over the past few years?
Oh man. My favorite memory. Oh man, that is a really good one. I would say, I have lots, but I think just some of the opportunities I've had with SmileDirectClub, like I was on the regional events team for about a year, and being able to travel to the places I traveled and, really taking advantage of the places that we got to go to. There were just a few little things that we would do with our teams where, I had some team members that would collect a plant everywhere they went. I collected magnets and I would collect, like, now I buy t-shirts everywhere I go. But I think the regional events was really fun. It was a lot of work. It was hard work. It was really busy, but I think that is definitely one memory that I'll never forget, or experience I'll never forget.
Great. Love that.
All right. This next question comes from Stephanie Economy. So what would your advice be for someone who has been working towards their career goals but feels stuck? And what has been the most pivotal moment / learning moment that changed your trajectory?
Yeah. So I definitely think that you don't feel stuck. I think that you need to, work with your leader, work with if you're a shop manager, that we have SmileDirectClub is a huge company and there's so many different branches, but I think working with your direct leader and letting them know, like, what you want. Like, what is your career path? Let them know what your goals are, because we don't know what we don't know. And if you have a goal, and that's what I did when I was a shop manager, I got to a point where I was like, I wanted more. And I had lots of stretch assignments that my district managers would give me, and I loved it. And I felt like because I was asking for it, they knew I wanted it. So when a position came up, they already knew, this is something Tanya's already been asking for. She's been talking about it. And they started to groom me for my next. Even before it happened, or even before the role was going to be there, they were already starting to groom me, because I shared with them, this was my passion. This is where I wanted to be. This is where I want to get. So I think, you have a goal where you want to be, share it. I also think too, being able to utilize the resources that we have. Like, I was able to support on calls, and I started doing training calls to really get, like, when I was just an area manager, I started doing a call every week, open to every shop manager, anybody. Wow. I had operations join it. It's actually tomorrow. My call's every Thursday, and it's NAC deep dive call, and everybody can hop on the call. And I just show them all things about reporting and how to really dig into their business. And I think doing little projects like that will really help you get your name out there.
Yeah, get your name out there.
And experience. Yeah.
Experience. And then the second part of that question was, what was the pivotal moment?
Yeah, pivotal moment / learning moment that changed your trajectory.
I definitely think putting myself out there was that pivotal moment. Like, because I wasn't video review call. I would, be on there before. I did some peer-to-peer video review calls. But I think as soon as I really started to think, just as a whole, think globally, not just, Tanya's business, Tanya's SmileShops. Like, I started thinking, how can I impact, SmileDirectClub as a whole, and share like all ideas. Like, even if it was just something we were doing great in, my focus, like when I became an area manager for the regional events, Carrie was really big on, what is your like action plan? Yeah. Like, how are you going to drive your business, and really having a plan of action. And so I think once I really started to look at my business there and was able to share with my peers, I think that really just helped me grow.
Great. That's awesome. One more.
All right. And this question comes from Amber Latsko. So, of all the changes you have seen with SDC over the last 5 years, what has been your favorite?
Man. So, I feel like I've been through all the changes, from being SmileShops going into the DSOs. I think right now I'm very passionate about Care Plus. And we're actually going to be launching a Care Advantage soon. And I think this is great. I think it's really going to take SmileDirectClub to another level. But I'm really excited about it.
This latest one.
Yeah, I think it's really going to be a game changer for the company and whole, just for what we can offer our customers. I feel like our customers, we learn a lot from our customers day to day when they're coming in. And I think, that's one thing about SmileDirectClub. We listen, we give the feedback, like, this is what our customers are asking for. They want this, they want that. Like, and we take it and we run with it. And I think this is something that can even just make us bigger and better to help a different demographic of customers.
Right. We have a
question. This comes from Dilly Rodriguez. Do you have a mantra or a motivation quote that helps you start your day?
Oh man. Okay. So I don't, not really, but I do have to say, like, this is one thing I always tell my team every once in a while, because there's some days where it's like, all right, it's 6 a.m. and it's go time. And I really just like throw my hair in that nappy top bun, pour myself a cup of coffee. My team always knows when I'm on my second cup of coffee, and I just like turn on my music. Most calls, I'm just, I always have music playing in the background, because it just really gets me going. But there's that Pinterest quote that I'm sure you all know, but that is totally me, like, day to day, like, let's get this done. Like, just,
I don't know the Pinterest quote.
Oh, you don't? No, it's just like, throw your hair up in a bun, drink your coffee, and turn on some gangster rap is really what it is. But I like country, so I just turn on my country music.
So country rap.
Yeah. Exactly. There's some good music out there.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think that brings us to the end of the Q&A, but I appreciate all the questions coming in. Tanya, thank you for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge and your experience with us, and most of all, sharing your story, your upbringing, and just really appreciate your time.
Thank you for the opportunity. This was amazing. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thanks to Tanya again. And thank you guys for joining in, and tune in the next one. Don't know when it will be or who it will be, but if you have an idea, send it to us and we'd love to get them here to hear their story as well.
SmileDirectClub.